You want to know why I'm a teacher? I lost all my money as a businessman. I created a new invention. It was a pencil with an eraser on this end and an eraser on this end. Everybody just figured out it was pretty pointless. But oh yeah, you have that rough draft done and you are ready to finish this thing. We're going to finish it in an organized way. So let's see what's going on. Today, you will synthesize, there's that word again, it means taking two things, putting them together, new thing. Synthesize everything you've learned about poetry to revise your poem. Provide a reasoned explanation for your revisions. And you're going to create a final draft. All right, what you need for today is the Lesson 7 poem planning sheet from yesterday, or whenever it was that you worked on this, and the Lesson 8 worksheet, the poem revision worksheet. It's this little guy right here. Da, 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 da. Okay, you also need both packets for Lessons 1 through 6, and I talked about that on the last lesson, but just having a reference there if you need to look back at those poems and look back at the analysis on there and get some ideas. That's what you need. So get these materials, pause the video, start it again when you have them. Okay, so let's take a look at this worksheet before we get started. And I'll give you a brief tour of the worksheet and you can get to work. Okay, so we have this worksheet. We have two sides. We have one side with improvements that you have made. So where we simply just list the improvement that we made. And then we also have reason for the change. You have to explain why you made the change and what made your poem better because of it. So here's an example. Just a random example, okay? Example, I added a simile on line 4. So this person said exactly what they did. This is the improvement. Added a simile and location is line 4. So what's the reason for adding a simile on line 4? Author, well, this person said, I realized I didn't have enough similes in my rough draft, and this change added some joy to the poem. So that's how it improved the poem. Okay? Yeah? Make sense? All right, good deal. Let's look at the next slide. All right, so here we are. What we're going to do is look at a before and after of my poem, which I don't have a name yet. Maybe you guys can help me with that. But before we do that, we're going to look at the before and after of this poem, nameless poem. And I want you to notice some of the changes I've made, and I'm going to walk you through my thought process, just so you can have an example to look at. So the very first change I want to show you is this change to the word the. First of all, I highlighted all of the things I changed in red. But right here, and right here, I took this word the, and after reading the poem, I just recognized that I had put the word the in too many times. There were just too many these in there, and it seemed like I don't really need this word. And what happens if I take it out? Well, I took the word out and I felt like the poem got a little bit stronger. It felt more mystical. It felt more magical when I took the word the out. So let's look at an example. This line right here, line 2. I've known forests older than the roots that burrow, versus I've known forests older than roots that burrow. And I think taking out the here, it emphasizes roots in a different way. It makes it feel like this is talking about a universal idea. It's a bigger idea than just the roots. The roots means I'm talking about some specific roots, like in my backyard, there are the roots in my backyard. But older than roots that burrow, it's like then all roots that burrow. So this idea felt bigger to me when I took out the. So I tried it on the other lines, and same thing. I climbed in the branches when I was young. I climbed in branches when I was young. It's like a bigger idea. I've seen the branches. I've seen branches. So that's the first change I made. I removed the article the. So let's jump to the next slide and see how do I fill that out. So here's an example of how I would fill that out. So on the left-hand side is what I actually did, which is pretty easy to see. I removed the article the from lines 2, 5, and 10. That's just the simplest change. I don't need to explain why in this box, okay? I do explain why in this box right here. So why did I remove the? Well, using the seemed to talk about a specific thing, but removing the made it sound more powerful and universal, like I'm talking about all branches or all trees. Okay? Let me go through a couple more, okay? Let's go through a couple more. If you're ready, if you're like, Mr. Faber, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to write this thing, go ahead. But if you want to take a minute and look at my revised poem, I think it would be a good idea. So one of the other things I changed, you'll notice, is, let me switch to yellow, this line, silent black soil. When I read it, I read it out loud. First I read it in my mind. Then I read it moving my lips without actually speaking, because it helps me feel the words differently. And then I actually read it out loud. And when I read it out loud, it sounded kind of choppy, like snakes into the silent black soil. And I was like, silent black soil. And I realized if I just switch these two words, then I created something that's called an alliteration. Alliteration is where you have two starting letters of the same kind or more in a row. Silent soil. You know, the slippery silent soil. It adds a kind of rhythm when you put the same first sound. So I like that better. Like snakes into the black silent soil. I like that silent soil. At the end of that line, it sounds more boom, boom, boom. So that was an improvement for me. The next thing is I talked about removing the, which I think was a great move. And this line I felt was kind of weak. I built a treehouse and slept. When I read it again, I was like, I could be more descriptive. I wanted to like envision a bigger idea here, or a more peaceful idea. So instead of I built a treehouse and slept, I said I built a nest. And I was like, yeah, maybe it's not exactly a treehouse, but for me it was kind of a nest because I'm sleeping in a tree. And it almost lets me kind of like pretend that I'm an animal in this, or pretend that I'm a bird. I built a nest of matted leaves and slept. Also, where I said I dreamt of the leaves on the floor below me, that also sounded very plain and ordinary. I wanted to add like a more, like an interesting picture. And so I added some personification to it, right? Because I realized I had similes, but I didn't have a lot of personification. So I changed it to, I dreamt of the silent leafy floor crawling beneath me. Now, this idea of laying there and feeling the ground under the tree crawling around with snails and salamanders and whatever else is under there. I thought it was kind of a cool idea, a little bit like you sleep peacefully, but you know that it's still alive underneath you. And it got some personification, crawling. And again, I took the out. And then this thing about lonely ghost crying for lost love, this I felt was too specific also. I said a lonely ghost, that's one ghost, crying for a lost love. And I was like, you know what, if I'm taking out the, which means it's too specific, let me make this about a bigger idea. So I did that. So I said, like distant ghosts weeping for lost love. I've seen the branches sway in the sky. I was like, this could be better. So I put another simile here. Because again, I figured simile and personification. I've seen branches rock like cradles in the sky. I've seen branches rock like cradles in the sky. That's another simile. And then this word drowsy, when I read it, drowsy means sleepy, but when I really read it, I was like, that's not the right word. Drowsy means sleepy in the way like grandpa gets sleepy in the afternoon, or like you get after a boring class, you get drowsy. And I wanted it to feel different. I wanted it to feel better. So I found this word slumbering in a thesaurus. So I went to drowsy in the thesaurus. In fact, you can go to Google and type in thesaurus, Thesaurus, like thesaurus, thesaurus. I typed in drowsy and it will give you a whole list of words that mean basically the same thing as drowsy, but they're different. And I found the word slumbering in the thesaurus, and I was like, yep, that's for me. That's the right one. So hopefully you can see that improved my poem. Let's go ahead and read. I shouldn't erase this, but it's fine. Let's go ahead and read the final version of the poem. I'll read it one time. But by the way, if you're done here, you don't need to hear my poem. That's fine. You can go on and get to work. And when you're done, check back at the video. Okay? So, final version of my poem. I've known forests. I've known forests older than the roots that burrow. Sorry, let me start over. I did that wrong. I've known forests. I've known forests older than roots that burrow like snakes into the black, silent soil. My soul has grown still like the forests. I climbed in branches when I was young. I built a nest of matted leaves and slept. I dreamt of the silent leafy floor crawling beneath me. I heard the rush of wind through the branches like distant ghosts weeping for lost love. And I've seen branches rock like cradles in the sky. I've known forests, ancient slumbering forests. My soul has grown still like the forests. Awesome. If I could revise one thing at this point, I would probably consider how to fix this S at the end, because saying forest is nice, but saying forests, it sounds a little funky, and I don't like it. So I might change this to forest. I'll have to think about it. And the other thing is this word branches here was repeated too much, I think. Right here and right here. I feel like I might want to change this, maybe twigs, or maybe I want to change this one to twigs and this one to branch. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But you get the point. Our work is never done as poets, and you are a poet now. So get in there, revise what you can, pick me up when you're done. Pause. All right. Proud of you. Very proud of you. You got your final draft written. Very good. And I want to rate how you did. I want you to rate how you did. So get back up here on this part of the sheet and rate how you did. 0 to 100. Did you synthesize everything you've learned about poetry to revise your poem? Did you provide a reasoned explanation for your revisions? Give a really good reason why you revised what you did. And you created a final draft? I hope so. I can't wait to read these things. I can't wait for you to share them out in class, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.